Hi, this is Tim Lightfellow in the Kingdom of Vontier in the Society for Creative Anachronism. Today's video is a bit of a different thing than I've been covering. I've done videos on things related to archery equipment and maintenance, things like that. Lately, I've been watching some videos with various archers and competitions and such, and it occurred to me that I hadn't done any video regarding like mental approach to archery, and I saw some things in these videos that appeared to be scenarios such as someone seeing someone else's shot and then because the shot was good, kind of struggling and not shooting necessarily to their potential because they were focused on I have to beat that. So it made me realize that perhaps a discussion of mental approach to archery would be something people might find useful. There are several books out there. I think one of them is called Zen and the Art of Archery. There's several books in that refer to and talk about how to shoot, and some of those go into mental aspects as well. But this is my take on from my experience. So to give you an idea of what that experience is, I've been shooting since 2006. I started out shooting handbow, mostly recurve, and then I had a neck fusion in 2010. Ended up switching to crossbow. I've been shooting primarily crossbow since then. I've achieved grandmaster ranking in open crossbow, which means an average of 100 to 119.7. I've achieved ludicrous in period crossbow, which means an average of 120 to 120 and up. There's actually no other rank in our kingdom above ludicrous. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how long I've been shooting, my experience. I've been chief archer for 9-ish years for our branch. So I've taught people, I've run ranges, I've been a senior marshal. So that kind of hopefully gives you some insight to my experience and where I'm coming from with what I'm sharing. So the first thing, and I know in a lot of the ranges around here, this is what you'll hear someone tell a new archer is, number one, archery is about competing with yourself. You're not competing with the people who've been on the range and shooting for however long, who've achieved whatever level. You're at your level. You're just trying to improve how you're doing. You may have a specific goal of a certain average or whatever. You may just be trying to improve whatever that ends up looking like for you. You may have a goal of shooting different bow types and being at a certain level of proficiency with each one. So all of that, the one thing to remember is you're only ever competing with yourself. So my goal, if I go out to the range, isn't did I outshoot so-and-so? My goal is, did I shoot at the level I know I should be shooting? I know what my skill level is. Am I shooting that? I know that with that skill level, some days I'm going to be below that. So I'm going to have off days. Some days I'll hopefully be a little bit better than that because, law of averages, you're not always shooting right at the same level. But in general, I expect to be shooting at that level. And so, I go out to practice, I shoot. Am I shooting at this level? Am I struggling because of gear? Am I struggling because I'm not focused? Am I doing well and, extra happy with how I'm doing? But it's all about me and how I'm doing and what I know I can do and what my expectations are for myself. The one thing that I think where even those who have been told that and understand and, try to take that approach, I think that sometimes it's not carried over to competitions. So even if you're in a competition, you're trying to shoot to your skill. Did I when I complete a competition, whatever the results were, my when I look back on it and kind of assess how did I do, it's how did I do for my skill. Whether I won, whether I didn't win, did I shoot to what I think my skill level is? And if so, if that was good enough to win that day, cool. If it wasn't, okay, someone else did better. And where that comes in competitions is, I think a lot of times, as I was mentioning in the introduction, and if you look at like Olympic archery, they shoot what, 3 arrows in an end. And so each one of those matters a lot more for them when they're competing than our 6 arrows do for us, right? If they compete against someone who shoots like 2 10s and a 9, they're trying to at least match that. I think what I was seeing in some of the videos is that I think that pressure, they were letting that get to them rather than shooting how they know they can shoot. And that's one of the tricks, and it's by no means easy, but trying to get in the mindset and the actual approach of however the person you may be competing against shoots, that's how they're doing. How you shoot is what you're worried about. And again, it's not easy, especially if you're in some tournament like a champions tourney and you really want to win. You've been, maybe you've been trying the last few years or however long. It's something that really means something to you. Perhaps you're a member of a barony that has new Baron Baroness, and you really feel strongly about wanting to be their champion. There are all these things that can play into adding pressure during the tournament. And so again, always fall back to, and it takes all the work to actually do it, but I'm there to shoot the best I can shoot. Some of the things that play into this, and one of the things that I went through for, frankly, over a year, every single shot I was going through in my head, this is the shot that matters. The only thing I can get from the last shot is how was my aim point, or did I do something, rock the crossbow, or, it's the last shot is informational only. It's not, geez, that landed in the white ring, it missed the target, it landed in the black, wherever, based on your skill level. It's, if you get upset about it, that's going to carry over and impact your next shot or multiple shots. So, and again, it took me over a year. I heard the statement. I was like, yeah, okay, makes sense. I believe it. This is the shot that matters. Next shot doesn't matter because I'm not doing anything to set up for it. Last shot's already done. It doesn't matter other than, does it give me information to have a better chance of this being a better shot? And after over a year of telling myself that in my mind, every single shot, it finally was to the point where it was just how I approached it. I didn't think about it anymore. It wasn't a part of my thought process. It was just the way I shot. It became part of how I shot without going through any kind of, mental exercises or anything. And that can help you with scores, because if you have one off shot, that's one thing. If that then triggers you being upset and leading to 3 or 4 bad shots, then all of a sudden you're frustrated, your score's not where you want it to be, and it just kind of, to use the phrase, it can snowball, right? It can just keep making it worse. So trying to get to that point where you can say, okay, that shot's done. Only focused on this shot. Make sure it's loaded, make sure I'm in my right stance, make sure if I use an aim point that I'm coming set on my aim point and, staying there for a moment, not hurrying up, rushing, releasing, shooting, things like that. So I think that's the main things that come to mind from my experience. I was probably shooting in the 80s, scores in the 70s to 80s when I started the process of thinking through this is the only important shot. My goal was at the time to be over 80, because I had an Arcos. I was looking to become a member of the OGGS, hoping to, be qualified to be such. And typically they're looking for averages of at least 80, along with all the extra things, the pure light qualities, service, things like that. So when I started doing that, I was shooting right around 70s to 80s. And then, as I mentioned in the intro, my averages are now up over 100 for open crossbow and high 110s just into 120 for period crossbow. And I feel like I owe a lot of that to that mental approach of just, score doesn't matter on the, last shot doesn't matter, focus on the current one. And in tournaments, what they did doesn't matter. If they shot a 5, cool. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing and what I know I can do and try to execute that. Hopefully it proves better than what they did and I end up winning. But if not, then they end up winning and they deserve it. That's the way it goes. But if I come out of that tournament thinking I got caught up worrying about I have to match their score, I watched their score, and then I'm trying to make sure I do that too, and putting that pressure on myself, I'm less likely to succeed and I'm more likely to be frustrated with myself afterwards. So, again, as I've been mentioning, I would take it to that level of not even watching, like if it's let's say it's a tournament where each of you takes a turn shooting or something like that. For instance, I did one tournament and it was literally shoot the candle flame. And I watched the other person shoot first, and I watched their first arrow go just above the flame. I think it was maybe an inch. And I was like, wow, they're right on that. They're going to, and so I watched them, and I think every arrow ended up going basically right through that same point. And it's like, okay, so I have an opportunity to win this, right? But looking back on that, I mean, I did what I needed to do and focused on my shooting. while enjoying watching the other person and looking at, wow, this thing's a challenge, right? I didn't sit there and go, okay, so they did this. I need to do better than this in order to have a chance to win. I just went up and said, okay, I'm trying to hit that. Wow. Okay, let's see what I can do. You know, competing with side by side, watching, you know, where you might see the other person shooting as you're shooting. Try not to look. Try and block it out if you can. It's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but again, focus on what you're doing and what you know you can do and are capable of, and let the rest sort itself out, as they say. Hopefully this gives a little bit of insight into, you know, kind of mental approach. For some people, it helps if they go through the same exact process every shot. So maybe it's okay, make sure the base is steady, table the bow, put the arrow on it, nock it, bring it up. Okay, I'm going to draw to this anchor point. I'm going to exhale or inhale, hold my breath, count a second or 2 seconds or 3 with being set on my aim point. Then I'm going to release. Then I'm going to breathe again while I'm, you know, reset. So for some people, those sequence of steps help them get focused for that shot. I tend to go through the same things, and I've had some people kind of laugh at me because for those who shoot crossbow, you're probably aware that medieval style crossbow, it's kind of easy for those fingers to creep up and get hit by a string. And so in the process of avoiding that, as I get ready to shoot, I just habitually move my fingers as the last thing I do. So I'll hold the crossbow, I'll get it into my shoulder, I'll get my arm against my side, I'll get my head down, and then I'll make sure my fingers are out of the way, and then I'll shoot. And so I've had some people comment because I keep moving my fingers. But anything like that, that's just kind of part of your process. If it helps you get into the zone, as it were, get focused on what you're doing, get ready to make this shot, that can help. I know that for some people, as soon as they step on the line, they can be focused. For others, it can vary. I've had sometimes where I've been on the line shooting, I felt like I was nice and focused in, and I hear someone talking, and especially I hear someone mention my name, and all of a sudden I'm not focused. And it may take an end or two to get myself back into that mindset of being focused, or it may be a day that I'm just off and I'm having a day and I can't focus very well to begin with. And so that little bit was enough to pull me away from that focus. In that case, it's one of those, okay, today wasn't one of the good days, so I'm still shooting. So just a few things, a few thoughts, observations, some information that hopefully will help people out there. Thank you for watching. As always, feel free to add comments, any observations you have regarding, you know, mental approach, mental focus to archery. And thank you for watching. Hope this helps.